right, CBS News has just projected a winner in one of the most hotly contested and widely watched elections of the midterm cycle. Dr. Abdul El-Sayed is projected to have defeated Haley Stevens in the Michigan Democratic Senate primary. He will now face off against Mike Rogers, who ran unopposed for the Republican nomination. Earlier this morning, both candidates took aim at their would-be potential rivals.
All right, CBS News White House and politics reporter Aaron Navarro joins us now from Detroit. Of course, the Detroit votes were the last ones in. Tell us what we know and what helped push El-Sayed over the line.
Well, it seems that it was those Detroits, and rather the share of those in Wayne County, that helped CBS and other outlets make the final determination that Abdul El-Sayed has won the Senate primary. But in addition to what we finally got out of the Detroit area, you saw him really run up the numbers in Grand Rapids, in Lansing, in Ann Arbor, places, yes, with college campuses, though I believe they're on summer vacation at this moment, but also places that historically have supported progressive candidates, such as Senator Bernie Sanders. Stevens definitely put up a fight by really doing well in the Detroit metro area, but not quite enough to stave off El-Sayed from eventually winning this race, which CBS News has projected.
So because of this result that has just come into our newsroom, Aaron, of course, we now know that he will face Mike Rogers. The question, and this is something you've been reporting on along with Ed O'Keefe, which is, can Dr. El-Sayed win a general election contest? The policies that he has espoused, specifically as it relates to the state of Israel, are some that sort of moderate establishment, independent-minded Democratic voters who normally would vote for a Democrat, may find off-putting. How does he address that?
Step one is healing the divide in the Democratic primary. Or the Democratic Party. It's been no secret that this race between himself and Congresswoman Haley Stevens has gotten really combative in the closing months. And it's going to be a question not only for El-Sayed, but as well as other Democrats on the ballot here in Michigan. I'm at an event where the gubernatorial nominee, the Democratic nominee, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, is doing an event with Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, who is also the chair of the Democratic Governors Association. And, we're expecting to be able to talk to them after, and I'm sure we're going to be asking them and hearing from them what impact this has, El-Sayed winning the Senate race, on their own races. But in terms of healing the party and appealing to a wider swath of voters, one thing that has really alienated, especially some of the diehard Haley Stevens supporters, is what Abdul has said about Israel. He has really criticized the tens of millions of dollars in outside spending from AIPAC that helped boost Stevens throughout this race. He has said that the U.S. should not be sending aid of any kind to Israel unconditionally, or countries that, in his words, committed genocide like Israel. So that has been something that already, talking to Stevens supporters last night, had alienated them. They had told me they will not vote for him in November unless he changes his stance on Israel. That seems unlikely. I know you interviewed him this morning and got that same sense in regards to the Middle East. So we will see if there's other issues, if he can focus on the economy, if he can focus on being a fighter against Trump that can appeal to a broader electorate to bring maybe independence in, while you acknowledge losing maybe some of the more diehard pro-Israeli Democrats.
All right, Aaron Navarro reporting from Michigan for us. Aaron, thank you very much. Joining us now for more on this is CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. So, question I have, Anthony, is the progressive candidates, whether they are here in New York City when it comes to Mayor Zohran Mamdani, or there in Michigan for this potential Senate race against Mike Rogers, the question hinges a lot on young voters. We thought, if you looked at earlier polling, not CBS News polling, but if you looked at other pollsters, they suggested that up until today, El-Sayed had a wider margin of victory because of the potential of getting those young voters to come out. That didn't happen.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. And there's a couple of dynamics here. The first is for folks, and sort of get used to this because we'll be talking about Michigan a lot come November. The areas you see in yellow are places where Haley Stevens won or led. These areas here, and we're talking about Detroit, up through Oakland County, Genesee, Flint, all these are places Democrats in a general election need to do well. And so if you see El-Sayed not winning those counties, some folks are going to argue, well, did you put together a coalition? Can you unify the party, one that can carry into November and basically turn out that Democratic base that's really important. Of course, the counter argument to that is, well, persuasion matters too, and he did well in a lot of other places. But to your point, this is going to be a little bit different from what you saw in New York and even in Denver. These are places where you do see more young people. These are places where you see that Democratic base a little bit more. So I don't think, plus that, I should add, the early vote I saw was very much older, more reliably Democratic. And that also speaks to maybe he didn't turn them out.
Can I also ask, when you look at the state of Michigan, so we're looking now at Democrats for a primary.
Yes.
But this is a state that Donald Trump won.
Yep.
So what does it look like when we look at the counties and we look at the statewide map vis-a-vis Republicans and who voted for Trump?
Yeah. So here's your presidential map.
Wow.
I'll pull that
All right.
out.
So
that's your Trump. That's your Trump-Harris. Couple of important things here. One is, I'll show you, and maybe I should have shown this to you earlier, this is what I meant by places Democrats have to do well, that Detroit area and all of that. But the other part, I can actually go, this is a map of the Senate coming up, but I'm going to go pull up something from there. This is 2024, since you brought it up. You look at the declines that Democrats suffered, that Kamala Harris suffered among younger voters. This is what you were talking about. Do they try to win these folks back? The other thing, since we're talking about 2024 and that difference, back then, Donald Trump won almost 8 in 10 of Michiganders who said the economy was the most important issue. So never mind the demographics for a second. Let's talk about who can make the case about the economy. Right now, I will tell you nationally, Democrats don't feel as good about their party on the economy as Republicans feel about theirs. So they have some work to do in that dynamic within the Democratic Party.
So the Republican candidate for Senate ran unopposed. How does he stack up against El-Sayed?
So in that case, I'm going to bring back this map where Michigan is on this list anyway right now, a true toss-up. The way that you're going to see this match up is Michigan has been one of the more, we call it the more elastic states, which is to say it voted for a Democratic governor, Gretchen Whitmer, by about 9 points. Then it voted for Donald Trump narrowly, but still he won it. And of course, it had voted for Joe Biden back in 2020. That's what I mean by a lot of shifts. And I think that comes down to two things. It comes down to some degree of persuasion, but it also comes down, especially in this environment, to base turnout. Good.
I'm curious about the third candidate, Mick Morrow.
Yeah.
Is she the Ralph Nader of this race?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, if we just bring that up, and I'll pull up the
It is interesting.
You know, if you
is
just
not insignificant.
Yeah, I'm wondering what Haley Stevens thinks about that.
Yeah.
Because she was the chosen one by the outgoing senator.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the simple math on that question is that's 61,000 votes. If you take 61,000 votes and now you don't necessarily know that they all go to Stevens.
Right.
That's sort of hypothetical there. But if some of them went to Stevens, then yeah, that gets tighter.
Right.